Welcome, Healed listeners. I am Robin Denton with the Healed podcast, and I have a treat for you today. We have Sarah Ramos here. She is from upstate New York. She considers herself a food addict, not just in the past, but still. And Sarah has MS and she has struggled with her health her whole life. At one point, gained up to like 300 pounds and became paralyzed or really numb, I guess I should say, numb over her whole body at one point for a couple of weeks. And she found a way to get her health back, to feel good, to lose the weight, and really find a way to manage this disease in a healthy way. And so that's what we want to share with you today. So, Sarah, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I do want to give a little disclaimer that Sarah nor myself are doctors or nurses. We do not claim to treat, diagnose, or cure any diseases. Anything that we do mention, you can look up for yourself, do some research for yourself. I encourage you to do that and let the Lord lead you in that, in your own journey. All right. Tell us about your health history, Sarah. Just start us out when you were a kid. Were you a healthy young person or did you always struggle?
I always struggled from as far back as I can remember. I was big into wanting to play sports when I was in middle school and high school. I liked basketball and soccer. But I would always get really bad cramping in my ribs when I was running, which I wouldn't run anymore. So my mom, she would always take me to the doctor. They're like, oh, it's inflammation. Take Motrin, you're fine. And after she would take me so many times, the doctor's like, she's just using it as an excuse. She doesn't want to do that. My mom's like, no, she does fine when she is doing the dishes or laundry, but it's when she's playing sports. And they just kept brushing under the rug. It's just inflammation. She's fine. Um, when I got a little bit older and I was of driving age, I would be falling asleep at the wheel all the time, like not remembering how I got somewhere. And they tested me for pretty much everything under the sun. They thought I was having absent seizures. They thought I had narcolepsy, possibly sleep apnea. And all of the tests came back negative. So they put me on Ritalin to try to hype me up, keep me awake, which didn't work. And then they had to put me on medication to help me sleep because they were just drugging me up during the day. So I wasn't sleeping. I was depressed. They put me on antidepressants and I felt like a train wreck.
You were in the doctor's office a lot, I bet.
Yes. Yeah, that was like my second home.
And that's so scary, like to think that you could fall asleep at the wheel or very
Yeah.
scary. And as a young person, I mean, we want our independence, we want our freedom, we want to drive.
There were numerous times like I woke up on the wrong side of the road just before I went into the ditch or just before I was head on with another car. And my doctor, my prime care doctor, she did tell me that she might have to take my license from me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you started out with this unknown, not knowing what this is, these issues that you're having with staying awake and pain in your ribs. And tell us about your diet at that time and how that kind of got out of control.
My diet was it was just the standard American diet, lots of meat, lots of cheese, whatever I could eat, sweets. My family, they actually own a feed business. So it was big into like the farming. My dad was a hunter, so we were always having meat and everything. And I was an ice cream addict. And at one point, I actually moved halfway across the country to go to college. So I was eating fast food all the time. I gained 100 pounds within not even a year. It was more like 10 months.
Mhm.
And to keep myself awake while I was driving, I was constantly eating, whether it was chips or candy or something that was god awful for you.
I
So,
can see that connection though, like that would keep you awake.
mhm.
I can see that. You're getting calories and you're doing something. Okay. So,
Like I tried everything. I tried putting the window down. I tried blaring the music,
mhm.
and nothing worked. So,
So tell me, like, when did you find out you actually had MS?
it was in 2011. I woke up one morning. It was in the summertime. I woke up one morning and the entire left side of my body was numb. I thought I slept wrong. I had done horse fence that weekend, and I've had back surgery, so I thought I just tweaked my back, pinched a nerve, got up to get ready for work, and I literally kept falling, like face planting on the floor because I wasn't picking my left leg up because I couldn't feel it. So I was constantly telling myself, pick your leg up or I would fall. And I got to work, and as soon as I walked into, because I worked at a Down syndrome school at the time, the principal was like, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know. I just can't feel the left side of my body." He's like, "You need to go to the doctors." So he wouldn't let me drive.
Mhm.
Like I worked 45 minutes from the hospital. So he took me to the hospital and they did a scan and they only saw like a spot on my, um, from a CT scan. It was just from a horse accident I was in. So it wasn't anything. So they sent me to a neurologist and he's like, "Well, can't say it's MS because there's only one lesion and there was only one spot and you have to have multiple for it to be MS." He's like, "So it's either the beginning of MS or you have a brain tumor. And it's so deep in your brain, it's inoperable." So I went from, I believe it was June of 2011 until October of 2011 when I went to get a second opinion thinking I was dying from brain cancer.
That's so scary.
But
And
when the second opinion told me that it was MS, I was relieved
mhm,
because I wasn't dying.
yeah. Now, I do want to just mention here that with a lot of autoimmune diseases, you have to have so many markers before you get diagnosed with that disease. And so you can go to, I know, like a rheumatologist or different places, and you can have a few markers and you can have all the symptoms, but until you have enough of the physical markers, you don't get diagnosed with the actual disease. So a lot of people do go undiagnosed with a lot of different diseases because they don't meet those markers. And that's because the medicine that they put you on has significant side effects. So they want to make sure that you're really sick enough to get, that it warrants taking the medicine. So I guess at that point you got medicine for the MS.
I did, yeah.
And what was that like?
It was an everyday injection. I had to stick myself with a needle every single day. They put me on a lower, I don't want to say a lower dose, but it was like one of like the medications for not such a severe onset or whatever. Um, so I didn't get like the muscle aches. I didn't get the flu-like symptoms like some of the other injections. But after 6 months, there was more lesions forming. So they're like, "Well, it's not working. Let's try something different, a little more potent."
And
So
you were in your 20s then. Is
I
this
was
correct?
I was 26. Yeah.
Okay. And so you had to go on some stronger medicine. Did you have side effects from the medicines?
Not that I can remember, like
Okay.
not anything different than what was normally happening, I guess.
Okay. And then were you still on a lot of other medicines or did you get to come off all the depression medicine and
I
Ritalin and all
I was on all medication from 2011. I didn't come off any medication until the fall of 2014.
so how many medications would you say you were taking?
I want to say I was on at least 10 different prescription medications.
Okay. And were they helping were your symptoms any better at all, or?
No, not really. Like the numbness that I woke up with, that only had that for about 2 weeks. But they did, they put me on like nerve medication, hoping that that would help with any nerve pain. Once in a while that would help, but it was
And with MS, first of all, tell us what MS is exactly.
It's the demyelination of the sheath around the neurons in your brain. So it's kind of like if you think of a phone cord that's been like bent or something, so your connection is staticky.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your brain is, your signals that your brain is sending to the rest of your body is either weak or slow.
Right.
Okay. And with MS, you have flare-ups, correct? Is that correct?
Correct.
So how often would you say you were having flare-ups?
I honestly don't really remember having like super bad flare-ups. Most of my flare-ups would just be like a little bit of numbness, mostly in my torso. And depending on, I guess, the time, I'm not really sure how long they would last. Anywhere from, a couple days to a couple weeks. And then it would
Okay.
just kind of go away.
And your most hindering symptom was the fatigue?
Yeah.
And how bad was that on a daily basis?
It was awful, like to the point where I was kind of nervous to get in my car and drive because I didn't know if I would make it to where I needed to be alive or if I would end up killing other people. Because there was so many times that I fell asleep and woke up on the other side of the road, or like there
Wow.
was one day in particular, I was actually not even a quarter a mile away from my house coming home from work, because I had a 45-minute drive to work and from work. And the problem was, like, most of the time there was no cell service where I had to drive. So it's not like I could be on the phone talking to somebody. I was by myself.
Yeah.
And it was one day I was like not even a quarter of a mile away from my house. And I woke up going up a little embankment on my neighbor's yard. And I don't remember anything.
Wow. So you get this diagnosis finally. You're glad you're not dying, that it's just MS.
Yeah.
And so tell me, like from that point on, you said you went through a period of depression.
I had depression for years prior, but once I got that diagnosis, I think it got a little worse because I had been reading up on what MS is. I had no idea. Like
Mhm.
I don't even think I had ever heard of it. And all the stories I was reading, people were in wheelchairs, people had to use walkers. And I'm like, I'm 26 years old. I've got a lot of life to live. So I was depressed that I was going to be wheelchair bound. And there was so many things that I had on my bucket list of stuff I wanted to do. I was just telling myself, yeah, not going to be able to do it because I'm going to be in a wheelchair.
You didn't
But
have a lot of hope for your future.
I didn't. So that lasted for a few weeks. Like there was a couple weeks I didn't go to work. I didn't get out of bed. The only thing that kept me going was my sister-in-law. She would bring my niece over and she would get in bed with me. And she was only little. She was a year old. So she would hang out with me and that's what kept me going.
Oh, it's funny how sometimes the little ones give us so much hope and so much encouragement, and they don't even know that they
Right.
do it. Yeah, yeah. That's very sweet. Very sweet. So you had a good support system.
I did. Yeah.
Yes. So, okay. So you're diagnosed in October of 2011, and you're going down this path of medicine and poor nutrition. And what happened that caused that to change?
I was dating. I wouldn't tell a guy that I had MS until a few months down the road. I was like, oh, I like him. I'll tell him. And then they would disappear. And I was looking like on dating websites because I was older then and how do you meet people, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like at my wit's end. I was like, I'm done. But I started talking to a guy, and he's like, we were like, okay, we'll meet up. You know, we met halfway because he lived like an hour from me. We met at a restaurant, a bar. We had a couple drinks. We played some pool and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell him I have it. If he doesn't like it, he won't call me again. And at least I won't get attached.
Yeah.
So I told him, you know, I had MS, and I didn't expect to hear back from him. But the next morning he did call me, actually. And because he had actually changed his diet the year before that, he broke his back. So he changed to a whole food plant-based diet, salt, oil, sugar-free. And he went home, he researched because he didn't know what MS was. And he called and he's like, I'm not going to push it, but this might be really good for you. And I'm like, no, nope. I like my meat. I like my cheese. I can't go without my ice cream. And so we talked, and, you know, I would go visit him on the weekends or whatever, and I would choke his food down. And on my way home, I would still stop at like McDonald's or Arby's or something. And because I was like, oh, I'm starving. That food was so gross, you know? And that went on from May until August. And then I was like, you know what? I'm ready to jump on board with this. So I listened to Eat to Live by Joel Fuhrman about the whole food plant-based diet, salt, oil, sugar-free.
Eat to Live. That's a podcast, or?
It's a book, but you can get the audiobook. So I'm not a big reader, so I did the audiobook.
Okay.
And so I listened to that. I was going on a vacation with my parents, so I listened in the car to that. And then that next week when I got home, I was like, yep, here I go. So I started on a Tuesday, and he had like a 6-week plan to jump, you know, to like get your taste buds changed over. So I did 6 weeks and I lost 22 pounds. So
Wow.
I was like super pumped. I was like, oh, I did so good. I'm going to treat myself to Arby's, which was my favorite fast food. So I went and I ordered everything I normally would. And I literally threw it in the garbage because I took that first bite and it tasted so gross. That's how fast your taste buds change. It only took 6 weeks.
And you know, I feel like that is the one thing that people don't understand. People are like, I cannot give up this food, or I'm not willing to give up bread. I'm not willing to give up ice cream or whatever. I'm like, well, but are you willing to give it up if it doesn't taste good anymore? If you don't
Right.
want, if you're not craving it anymore, are you willing to give it up to get your health back?
Yeah.
Your
And
taste buds do change.
yeah. And a lot of people are like, how are you so strong? Like, because I've gotten a lot stronger over the years.
Yes.
And I said, it's because I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you did this diet, you lost 22 pounds, you end up getting hooked up with a doctor from New Jersey, and you start this plant-based diet, and you actually did some fasting on your own, like 3 to 5 day fast.
Mm-hmm.
But then you end up going to a center in California called, is it True North
Yep.
Center? And that is a medically supervised water fasting facility. So there's doctors there, there's chefs there, and instructors there, and what else? Like is there yoga
Yep.
there? And
Yep. They do, there's a yoga instructor that comes in, there's chefs, they do cooking classes, because not everybody that goes there fasts. I fasted, and actually the guy who got me on this plan is now my husband. So he went and he fasted with me too. And so we were fasting and going to the cooking demos, and people are like, how are you doing this? You're not eating, but it's because we had a goal.
Mhm.
And so they do cooking demos. There's like not a pool outside, but like, I can't remember if maybe no, there wasn't a pool. I think it was just a big fountain. We went there, it was cold. Like it was like the rainy season, so it was cold.
Uh-huh.
But they have like a whole like patio type thing outside with chairs for everybody to get together if they want. You know, they have board games if you want to help, you know, do that. But they give everybody that goes a whole set of DVDs you can watch from all the plant-based doctors, and it's just all very, I don't know, it's very relaxing, and everybody's in the same mindset. So it's kind of like you're on a little vacation, I guess.
Uh-huh. Now, I did a little research on True North, and I want to say it's a non-for-profit organization, and it's not super expensive to go there. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, it's not super expensive. I mean,
Yeah,
I honestly think it's totally worth it. Like
because
a lot,
it's a residential facility. Like you stay
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, you're paying this money to go and you drink water? I said, absolutely. Like, yeah, it's totally worth it.
But you're medically, as you fasted for how long?
I went 38 days on just water.
Yeah, that is amazing.
My goal was 40, but at day 37, my body is like, telling me no, but I went one more day. And then it was just, my body was done.
Would you say how hard would you say the 38-day fast was?
Honestly, it was pretty easy. Like, I think it was easy because I had my mind set for months beforehand that I was going. We actually flew out right after Christmas. So my husband and I, we went up north and we went skiing for the weekend. And then we flew out. So I went and I had chicken wings and all of this other stuff before we went. I was like, I'm not going to be eating for a while. And I think it was 2 weeks into the fast that I said, I'm not eating animals anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like watching all of the documentaries and stuff. And I actually left. I was 100% vegan at that time. Like I'm still am, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what was you keep saying that you had your mind fixed that we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you care to share with us? What was that driving force in the back of your mind that set your mind to sticking to this?
Well, because before that, like when I would get some of the numbness in my torso, like the first time it happened, my husband's like, maybe you should try just a 3-day fast to like cleanse your body. So I did, and the numbness went away. So the next time I got it, I fasted for like 5 days, and the numbness would every time it would go away within 2 days. So I was like, it's obviously doing something. And at the time, like I had gone to see Jay Benson. He works under Dr. Furman in Jersey, and I was trying to get off MS medication. And he's like, probably would be good to go fast to rid all of the toxins from all of that medication you were previously on. Because once I went plant-based, I had only been plant-based for about a month, and I was off all my prescription medications to help me sleep, to keep me awake, for depression, because that's how fast a plant-based diet can change your body.
So I just want to recap. So you went on, you get diagnosed with MS, you find out, you get on the medication for it, you're on about 10 medicines a day, and you're not really seeing any results. And you go on a plant-based diet for 1 month and see huge results. And you also, when you do have a flare up, you can fast for a few days and it's gone.
Correct.
So a lot more success on just good nutrition and fat water fasting.
Yeah.
Than you had with the medications.
I was still on the MS injection.
Okay.
Just because there was a piece in my mind that I was still scared that I was going to get more lesions forming and the disease was going to progress, even though I was eating so healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I was going to Jay Benson for. He was helping me like wean myself off the injection to see how I would react.
Mhm.
But I fully stopped the MS medication. It was I think it was September 29th of 2015. And I went on a medication a couple years ago for about 2 months, but other than that, I have not been on any prescription medication for MS or anything else.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about the True North. So you go in there, and did you have to do any preparation before you actually started the water fast?
They recommend, to eat cleaner for the first couple days so you're not having such bad detox when you are fasting.
Okay.
So just because we were eating super clean anyway, like we would still eat meat every once in a while. Like I don't anymore, but before that we were. So like I said, I ate chicken wings like the day before we went. But other than that, I was eating super clean anyway. So I didn't have the detox symptoms like a lot of people would.
Okay.
I was actually dreaming about broccoli when I was there. And my husband, who went with me, he was dreaming about pizza.
I love it. I love that you all got to go together. That's amazing.
It was definitely very supportive.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't stay as long as I could because he had to get back to work, but it was definitely a plus. I don't know as I would have been able to stick with it as long as I did if I didn't have a support system go with me.
Yeah. And so you're really flooded with knowledge and information at this place, and you're about plant-based diet and a vegan diet, and the effects of sugar and salt and chemicals on your body. And so you did this 38-day water fast, and then there's a time of refeeding. Is that what they call it? Can you tell us
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, I can't remember how many days you have to like be supervised for refeed. Depends on how long you actually fasted, but they start you out with juice.
Okay.
They'll bring you, I think, 3 juices a day. And then after so many days of juice, then you can add maybe other certain foods, but only like certain ones every couple days so that you're not flooding your intestines with all of this food and screwing up your digestive.
Well, you would feel, I imagine if you water fasted for 38 days, you would feel horrible if you just pigged out. So
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, slow. Okay. So tell me about you're not on any medication now.
Nope, no prescription medication. I take B12, D3, and a probiotic.
Okay. And your diet, you're still vegan?
I'm 100% vegan. I eat no sugar, no oil, very minimal salt. Like I don't buy processed foods and I don't add salt to my foods. So I mean, if we go out somewhere for a treat, there's obviously salt in it,
Right. Mhm.
but I
So,
don't stick with it.
so tell me about your scans since you've been to True North.
Since I've been to True North, I thought my first scan when I came back was going to be fantastic, but I had still had, active lesions or whatever, which whatever, I felt okay, so it wasn't too bad. But then I like I said, I ended up going on a medication for a couple months. I believe it was December of 2018, I want to say. And I had to come off of it because it was messing up my blood levels. So was giving me, I was going to be more prone to getting a rare brain infection. So I went off of it until my levels came back up, and I tried it again. And the levels got even worse. So I said, no more of that. And after I came off of that, I had a scan and there was nothing active or anything, but they're like, well, you were on medication. Let's see how it goes from there. And actually this last scan that I had, there was nothing new. There was nothing active per se. They tried to tell me that there was. They wanted me to go back on medication, but I refused. And I actually told them that I wanted to see the written report. So they sent it to me. And right in there, it said probable, but they didn't know it was just a spot on the scan. So they had no idea what it was. So other than that, my scans have, just kind of been the norm, I guess. I did go see a specialist a few years ago, and she was surprised when she walked in because she saw my scans before I got there, and she looked really confused. And I was like, is everything okay? Like, I was nervous. And she's like, well, where's your walker? Where's your wheelchair? I said, I don't have one. She never expected me to walk into that place without an assistant, a device of some sort, because my scan looked so bad. Like, my brain looked like a Christmas tree on steroids. I had so many active lesions.
And that was before you started the diet.
No,
And
that was
that was
after.
Oh, okay.
I had been like,
Okay.
I've been plant-based since August of 2014, and that was in 2018, I believe.
Okay. So your symptoms did not match up with your scan.
Exactly.
I
So
see.
so obviously the plant-based is doing something. Like, I've never felt this good in my entire life. Like, thinking back to when I was a kid, I don't think I felt this good.
Mhm.
But I've also, I've gotten really strong with exercising. And when I was first diagnosed, like, even growing up, I never took time for myself.
Mhm.
I always put everybody else first. And just a couple of years ago, I followed a rapid recovery group with Dr. Brooke Goldner. She's a doctor. She actually cured her own lupus years ago.
Oh,
So now,
wow.
she helps other people. So I followed her, and she actually heals people eating nothing but raw food. So I was 100% raw for a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
And, I learned from her to think of myself and increase the exercise. And that's really what helped me. Like, I had the food under control. That was no problem.
Uh-huh.
But
So how much energy do you have? I mean, how would you compare your energy levels from, 10 years ago to now?
well, 10 years ago, all I wanted to do was sleep.
Mhm.
Like, I could literally fall asleep at the drop of a hat.
Mhm.
And now, like, I get up Monday through Friday at 4:20 in the morning and exercise for an hour to an hour and a half. And like, the weekends I'll sleep in, but I'll still get my exercise in, and I'm just nonstop go all the time.
Mhm.
Like, it's to the point where my husband's like, can you just sit down and take a breath break? And I was like, no, I've got stuff to do. Like, I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you don't worry when you get in the car to drive.
Nope, I haven't worried about that in years.
That's got to be such a blessing.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you as we wrap up here, um, so many people are diagnosed with MS and every year or every day and are not, they feel like you did, that depression, like I'm going to end up in a wheelchair and um, just so depressed from their diagnosis and so hopeless. What would you say to them? What encouragement would you have for them?
To not give up, to be your own advocate. You can't let other people tell you what you should do. You know your own body.
Mhm.
Like I did, I followed the doctor's recommendations. Take this medication, take this. But then I, researched, found a different path. I advocate for myself, just like I said when I told them I wanted to see the report of the scan because I didn't believe them. And like, years ago, like, it was actually 2015 when I moved and I got a new neurologist and I was trying to get off medication. He told me, he's like, if you get off medication, you're going to be blind and in a wheelchair in 5 years. So I never went back to see him. This October is going to be 6 years since then. I'm better off now than I was then.
Mhm.
I'm not nowhere near blind. I'm nowhere near wheelchair. I mean, I'm up running, I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
So don't let like all of the scary stories that you read about scare you, because they did scare me at first. That's usually what you find is the bad stories.
Yeah.
But as
Yeah.
long as you stay strong and you research for yourself.
Right. Yes. And I feel like we don't always find answers in the traditional path. Um, you know, what we put into our bodies is so, so important. And I feel like here in America, at least, we are not, we have sick care, but we don't have good well care. We have good emergency care, but
Right.
we don't have really good well care to keep us healthy. And so I'm so thankful that for you for coming on the podcast and for sharing about your experience with True North. I feel like that's a place that so many people could go to find healing. And I totally agree with what you say. Just you know yourself, you advocate for yourself, and just don't give up.
Yeah, and my husband and I, we actually started a Facebook page, and I just recently started an Instagram page with a whole bunch of like healthy recipes. They're whole food, plant-based, SOS free. Some of them we've created, some of them we've just modified to fit the lifestyle, just because we want to do everything we can to help other people.
Right.
Because some people are like, I don't know where to start, which we were there. It's hard.
It is. It is. So where can people find you? What is your Facebook page called or your Instagram?
Real food
What,
is the cure. Real food is the cure.
Real Food is the Cure.
Yeah.
And that's the Facebook page and the
And
Instagram?
that's correct. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. So that's where you can find Sarah and her recipes if you want to stay in contact with her and learn more about nutrition. And I just appreciate you so much sharing your story with us today, Sarah. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
I look forward to hearing more about your story because it's, you know, you're young, so you've got lots more story to tell.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.